back. All right, all right, all right. So, episode 2, Neverwinter. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Right out of the gates, we're going to be talking to this fella right here. He's going to give us a new mission, and we're going to head out.
Protector's Enclave needs your help.
I've gotten a report about some disturbances in the vaults beneath the Hall of Justice. The guards are spread thin after the last attack, but you've proven yourself more than capable. So I'd like to ask you to look into it for me. I've told the gate guards you're coming. He'll let you into the vault.
Sorry, guys, I closed that dialogue box. That's just a bad habit of my part. When I play alone, I usually just listen. I don't read, unless it's lore. So here we are. What was this? A Great Hall, he said? Hall of Justice, something like that? Justice League? No. Anyway, it's pretty great the way they designed this. It's neat. I like it just because I'm thinking how I imagined Dungeons and Dragons back when I was a kid, and it's just so very similar. So, if you watched the previous video and you are back for a second one, I'm hoping that you enjoyed what you saw and that you're hoping you'll enjoy this. Oh, here we go. Here's the vaults. I'm not going to really leave this up long enough for anyone to read, but if you want to pause it and read it, that's great. It's just a little history. Let's head over to this guy, find out what he's got to say. He's got one of those glowy things.
You're the one Sergeant Knox sent to investigate. Well, I'm glad you're here. We've heard some strange noises from the vault. One of the other guards went to check on it, but he should have been back by now. I have to guard the entrance, but I'll let you through. Find the source of those noises and look for Quartermaster Otis. He'll know what's happening.
So I'm kind of hoping that if you did enjoy the last episode and you're enjoying this one or will enjoy this one, that you'll obviously subscribe, hit the like button, the bell, and all that. But I'm really hoping this series and this channel will help me to reach out and meet folks that played old school Dungeons and Dragons, first edition back in the 70s and 80s, and maybe even into the 90s like I did, and into the years 2000 and so on, with our children. It would be nice to find that community. I live, like I said in previous episodes of other series, I live way up in the Sierra Nevada, up near Yosemite. I don't go to VidCons and Game Cons and Comic Cons and all the other cons that are out there. I just deal with my life one day at a time. Nice. Kind of like it when you swing once and all 4 go down. So I'm hoping if you've got some sort of background where you've played Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, maybe even Magic the Gathering. Back in the day, there were about 1,000 different RPG games that were dice oriented, that were like Dungeons and Dragons. There was Star Wars, there was Conan, there was Boot Hill, which is one that I really which is one that I really wanted to get in. Well, I always wanted to get the basic kit and check it out. I also figured I could kind of work out my own system just using Dungeons and Dragons, and the way they have the way missiles are counted, and projectiles, that sort of thing. In this case, we would substitute bullets for slings and arrows, that kind of thing. All right, let's fight her. So we got to keep an eye out. You always look around everywhere in this game, because just like in regular Dungeons and Dragons, there are little things hidden everywhere. In this case, it looks like I need to have a special kit to open that guy. Sometimes when you find these things, it'll be like it'll open a secret door, and there will be a treasure chest behind it. It's very, very much like when we played, paper, pencil, dice. I always, when I'm playing this, I like to peer in through both corners of the door, make sure guys aren't going to come in from the side and flank me as I'm trying to take out a small group in front of me. There's this guy over here. Is he a statue or is he a guy? He's not glowing. Kind of freaked me out when I was in the doorway. Okay, we're good. Anywho, where should we go? Over this way. Anyway, I'm hoping if you've got any of those games in your past, I believe they even had like Star Trek, everything. You name it, there was a game that was role playing, had dice, and people were buying them. I remember it seemed at one point I was living in the Bay Area. This is after I was graduated from high school. I was living with my grandmother down by the Valley Fair Mall in San Jose, and there was a game shop there. I can't remember if it was on the first floor or second floor, but it was up there, in there, and I remember that whole back wall had like this little kind of extra area, it seemed, in the back that was maybe an office at one time that they expanded the store into, and the entire place was just filled with role-playing games, dice, Dungeon Master screens, you name it, it was there. It was great. I remember I bought a brand new set of dice, of course, which I still have. I still have one dice from my original set of dice from my original basic D&D box set from back in 1970 something. I still have the basic rules and stuff. I don't believe I have the box anymore. I think I have the expert box. No, I have the beginning box. I don't have the expert basic rules box anymore. But I do have both sets of rules. I even have some of the game modules. I think it was B1 and B2, Keep on the Borderland and something like that. Something else. Anyway, so I bought some nice new dice. And what was really neat, the one thing I really remember was not only was I able to get all, the next generation of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons books there, because my set had already been completed, the first generations, was that I was able to get, still have it today, 100-sided dice. It's basically like a large golf ball kind of thing with 100 sides. Funny story associated with that particular dice. It wasn't until many years later, into the years 2000, that I was teaching my kids how to play. They were still in junior high, and I was buying them dice. I wanted to get them the greatest dice on the planet, because I'd done a little bit of research, and that one original die that I still have, this is out of 2 original sets of dice that came, one with the basic set and one with the basic set and the expert basic set, basic beginners, basic expert. So I would have had something like 10 or 12 dice total. I lost all but one, and that one in those original sets was made by a gentleman who had exclusive rights to making those dice. And eventually Mattel, or whoever it was that was producing the game Dungeons and Dragons, decided to go with somebody else for the dice, or produce them themselves, and no longer go with this gentleman's dice. Well, this gentleman's dice are really quite different from others. They had much sharper edges. To this day, the outer edge of the original dice isn't sharp, but it's not that rounded thing that you see on lots of dice with sharp corners, or should have sharp corners. So I did some research online, and it was interesting in a roundabout way. This whole thing comes back to that 100-sided die that I purchased. I found that there was a guy who's going around to game shows, and he has these little booths, and he makes these dice, and he tells a story about how he was the original Dungeons and Dragons dice creator, and he explains all the theories and the science behind his dice. How having that sharper edge doesn't allow for a rollover. It's either that or it isn't. You're actually getting the true random roll and not the random, almost kind of random roll. It's neither here nor there if you're just having fun with it, but it is neat if you want to be a super nerdy gamer guy who wants to have the best dice for his kids. So, I found these dice. I found where I can order them. I ordered my kids' dice. It turns out while I was on that site that this is the same gentleman who made that 100-sided dice, is the same gentleman who made my very first set of dice. I don't get any money or anything from these folks. I think it was called Game Science Dice, something like that. I believe the 100-sided dice was called the Zokihedron. It's and my dice still says it. I'd pull them out right now, except that they're buried inside of my bug out bag underneath my couch here near the edge of my bed. Being in the Sierra Nevada with the fires we had this year, we have bug out bags, which means the fire is so close that you have your bags ready to bug out. There's no time to pack, and I was right in the thick of it. The fires up here near Yosemite for about a 2-week period were hovering anywhere within 20 miles to at one point they were within 1.5 miles from my front gate. So we have our bug out bags ready all the time, and my Dungeons and Dragons, my classic gaming stuff outside of the few things I have on the shelf up here. Just kind of showpieces. Everything's packed up all the time. Anywho, I hope you're enjoying this game. I hope you don't mind me just kind of rambling and talking over it. It's how Dungeons and Dragons is. If you've ever played it, it's a lot about friends and conversation. It's about role playing as much as relationships and food. And we can't really get that aspect of it playing a video game. Unless, we can come together as a community, in this game and play together. Headsets on, microphones going. I'm a big fan of crunchy Cheetos. Not the best friend of microphones. I think a fair rule is if you're an old school gamer, you should be able to crunch into a microphone while playing a newfangled version, that is, of Dungeons and Dragons. So, going through, checking out, seeing what we've got here. It's always good when you find these campfires, check your stuff, get your gear updated. The biggest difficulty, that little popping sound is me sitting back down in my chair here. The biggest difficulty I found with this game is just really learning it. There's a lot to learn. There's so many different screens and so many different ways to use screens, and you can set this path or this glittering path. You can choose whatever, if you want to go through and gather every mission around and then choose what mission you're going to go on next and just have the paths pop up. You can do it that way. In this particular series, we're going to do it just one at a time. Alright, there we go. There we go. Alright, let's gather up this loot. And we'll get on to our next group of fellows. There they are. Alright, let's do this. Nice, these guys aren't that hard at all. This can't be the big boss. No, this definitely isn't the big boss. Well, let's gather our loot. Loot first, ladies last. Got to keep one's priorities straight, in order if you're playing D&D. All right, let's talk to this lovely lass.
Ah, you're here. Oh, wait. Are you? Here, I mean. Oh, quite. I have trouble at times being sure if I'm viewing the present or one possible future. I'm a seer, you see. In most of my visions, you rescued me. But there were a few where I had to escape on my own. And a handful I'd rather not dwell on. At least now, I know I can relax. Apart from not being eaten, I'm glad you rescued me. as I came to Neverwinter specifically to meet you.
Nice.
Yes, my visions show your actions will have a great impact on the future of Neverwinter and the entire Sword Coast. I am here both to assist you and be assisted by you in my own quest. No details now. I've delayed you long enough, and you have important things to do. Besides, I have to do some more research in the library here before you can help me. Or did I already do that? No. Yes, I still have research to do. Just come see me in the library once you're done in Blackley. Oh, forget I mentioned that. Come see me when you can.
Well, now, if I rescue her, isn't there going to be some sort of like hero thing? My goodness, she wants to keep everything so very professional. All right, well, she's got a lot of crazy and a little cute, and I think the crazy outweighs the cute, so let's keep moseying on. Let's wrap this episode up. We're about 10-15 minutes, at least 15 minutes into this, so here we go. Let's throw a page on. All right, folks. Thank you very much for hanging out with me, watching a little New School D&D. Please subscribe, please like, please share, ring that bell. And as always, thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time. See you next time.